Hi there, Don from the running room. So today we're going to be talking about runner's knee or patellofemoral joint pain. If you're a runner, you're probably familiar with this before. We know it's super common in the running population. What we want to do today is to break down some myths, give you some advice and some exercises you can do to get on top of it. Patellofemoral joint pain or runner's knee, again, is really common in the running population. What it essentially means is it means we're getting pain around that front part of our kneecap. Now, the good thing is often with patellofemoral joint pain, it actually doesn't mean there's anything structurally wrong with your knee. It's generally that we've either increased our running load too quickly or we've changed the type of terrain we're running on, and it's an overuse condition. The tissue is nice and irritated and inflamed around our knee. The good thing is, often with runner's knee, there is some really evidence-based things that we can do to make sure we're able to continue running and to get a good outcome long term. Often we don't need to stop running completely, but here are some of our top tips to be able to reduce your discomfort and continue to train to that next event. When you've been diagnosed with runner's knee in this early stage, one of the things we like to do is to give you some symptomatic release. So we want to free up all of that tissue that's become sore and stiff and tight because of the amount of running load you put through there. A really nice exercise to start with is what's called a couch stretch. You're going to come into this position when you're in a lunge, have a nice soft surface underneath your knee, or if you're on a hard floor. What we want to focus on this position is we want to tilt our tailbone underneath. You'll find when you tilt into this position, it gives you a really nice stretch through the front part of the thigh. So we'll release that quad and through the hip flexor. You know, because you've been doing a lot of kilometers, this area is going to get nice and stiff. So it's a really key step is to take some of the tension and tone out of this hip and out of this quad. If you want to make that difficult or you're not feeling it in this position, there's a few ways that we can progress this. One of the things I like to do is I like to elevate this rear foot. So we can come more into this position. We elevate the back foot onto the couch. And the same thing, you focus on just tucking that tailbone under there. You'll feel a really nice stretch in this position. What I would encourage you to do is spend 30 to 60 seconds in this position and really focus on doing your nice controlled deep breathing until you find that you've got a little bit more range of motion through here. Second mobility drill that we want to work on is we want to work on improving our range of motion through our hip. We know when you're running, you're either on one leg or you're in the air. So this outside of our hip, which stabilizes our pelvic when we're running, gets a lot of work. So a really nice way to start to release that tissue is come back down into lying. You're going to cross the knee, you're going to cross your ankle over your other knee, and you're just going to apply a downward pressure. I can really feel this opening up through the outside of my glute. Same thing, 30 to 60 seconds in this position and just controlling your breaths with not 10 nice deep breaths. Again, if you're still not feeling it in this position, the way to progress that is we come under this knee and pull back into this position, and that will really start to tension up the outside of the glute. Now we're going to run through some release work. Every runner should have these two staples in their gym equipment or in their gym bag. We've got a foam roller and a spiky ball. The first one we're going to do is we're going to do some release work for that glute. Like I said, it gets a tremendous amount of work for it when you're running. What you want to do is you want to get that ball and you're going to place it right under the outside of your glute. You can start to find any sort of sore or stiff spots and just hang out on there for 30 to 60 seconds. Again, if we want to progress that, if you're not feeling it enough, cross this leg over. But I guarantee you can find some sore stiff spots here that you can really start to release. Second one that we're going to go through is using this foam roller. Because this quad will be nice and jacked up, we want to start to alleviate some of that tonicity or the tone through the front part of your thigh. What I like to do is I come over, I support my body weight on my elbow here. And what I'll start to do is just from the top of the knee, so not right into the knee joint, I start to release this outside part of my thigh. Now, what you can do is you can start to come over into this position. So we're working a little bit more through the front part of the thigh. Find any of those spots that feel a little bit sore or tender. Same thing, just hang out in those spots for 30 to 60 seconds and you'll feel after that you get a nice release. So one of the key strategies with runner's knee is building more resilience around the outside part of our hip. Like I said before, when we're running, we're either on one leg or we're in the air. So this outside part of your hip takes a huge amount of load. What we want to do is, particularly in this acute phase when maybe your knee's feeling a bit uncomfortable, is we actually focus on loading through the hip, as it's generally pretty comfortable and safe and it doesn't irritate your knee. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do banded crab walks. What you're going to do is you're going to place your hands on your hip, stick your bum out and you come down into this quarter squat. We always want to maintain good pressure on the outside of the band here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take 10 steps out to the left. And then once you've done that, you're going to step out to the right. Now, when you're doing this correctly, you'll really feel it light up the outside of your glute here. That's how you got here. It's working nice and well. So 3 sets of 10, out and back. So one of my favorite exercises for runner's knee is the good old fashioned Bulgarian split squat. This one should be in every runner's bag of tricks. It should be in every runner's program. What we want to do is we're going to start in this position here. We want to have this rear foot elevated. Now, this front foot is doing all of the work. The rear foot is basically just a balance. What you're going to do is you're going to keep your head and chest nice and tall, and you're going to drop down into this position here, and then come up into this position. What you'll be able to feel is it'll put a lot of work through this front part of your thigh, and you'll even feel it work on the outside of the hip. So you can do 3 sets of 8 into this position. Again, if that feels like that's too easy, we can always add external load. So you can grab onto a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Same thing again, putting the rear foot up onto a couch or a bench, dropping down to that position. That will make it significantly harder. The real key here is making sure that we're controlling knee position through the whole range of motion. We don't want this knee to sort of collapse into this position. We want to sort of make sure that we're tracking over the top of the knee. Dropping down into that position and then driving up. Another excellent exercise for runner's knee is what we call the side plank leg lift. This one will really, again, challenge the outside part of your hip. And as you can see with a lot of these exercises, the theme is to continually build strength around this outside of the glute. What you're going to do is you're going to come down to this position on the floor, you're going to plank up onto the side, and you're going to lift this bottom leg up. Now, these look deceptively easy, but you'll notice when you do these are actually relatively difficult. If you find that that's too hard or is provoking any discomfort, a nice regression we can always do is we bend this bottom knee, planking up onto the side, coming into this position, and same thing, lifting that leg up. The point here is about control and stability. So we really want to make sure that we've got good quality reps with each one of these exercises.
So we've given you some exercises, we've given you some tips and release works, but one of the key things that will either determine if you get a good result or a bad result is your load management. We know that most of these types of injuries are overuse injuries, a training error. Some really simple things we can do. We can change the intensity of your workouts. We can pull back the terrain, meaning we're doing less hills. Load management is such a key part of your journey and getting a good result. So it's really important that you come in and you see an expert level physiotherapist who can guide you through this whole process. What we can do in clinic is we can have a look at your running biomechanics, which also contribute to why you get runner's knee. We look at some common things like overstriding, meaning is your foot landing too far out front of your center of mass? Are you putting sort of the brakes on when you're running? And are you really overloading this front part of your knee? Some other things as well is like we can look at position like crossover. So is your foot coming slightly too far over your midline when you're running and winding up the outside of your knee?
So if you are suffering with an injury or a niggle that you just can't seem to get on top of, we've helped thousands of runners online and in our clinics across Sydney, London and Melbourne. So if you're looking for some expert level advice, come into the clinic and we can help you get on top of your injury now.